Hello, Jedi Padawans and Sith Acolytes. Welcome to Apocaflix Movies and the Padawan Podcast. Before we get going, just tell you a little bit about the show. If you love Star Wars and everything in the galaxy far, far away, then this is the exact show you should be watching. Why? Because we're diving deep into the franchise with full dark and light side intentions. If that's something you love doing as well, then we'd love for you to join in on the discussions by hitting that subscribe button and commenting down below. You can also find the show on all podcast platforms, including Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify if on-the-go listening works better for you. We hope you will enjoy the show, and may the Force be with you. What is going on, everyone? We are back for Apocaflix Movies and the Padawan Podcast. I am your host, Jake Berlin, aka Qui-Gonn Jake. And I am joined today by Mr. Grand Admiralcino, Grand Admiralcino himself. And, we have a lot of cool things to talk about today. We're going to be diving into a lot of the rise of Skywalker because of the recent World press conference that happened 2 days ago by the time this came out. And a lot of new cool comments from writers and cast members and creative minds behind the movie. We're also going to be touching a little bit on The Mandalorian. But before we get to that, Brian, how are you doing, man?
I talk some Star Wars.
It's finally December, man.
I love that Star Wars can say we had a world press conference. That's just like, who does that?
Yeah, and you know, do you know who it was hosted by?
No.
Ava DuVernay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's like a hint of her working in the future, but it was hosted by one of the most renowned filmmakers working today.
That's interesting.
Which is really cool.
I mean, I get a filmmaker when you've had like Colbert host stuff like that.
That's very true. Very, very possible. Yeah, could be something. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, like I said, we have a lot of cool things to talk about today, guys. We're going to be touching on The Mandalorian and some comments from Jon Favreau to begin with. And then we're going to be diving into the rise of Skywalker and stuff about the Force and plans and things that may happen in the future and stuff like that were kind of talked about from people like J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, the writer, and Michelle Rezwan, the head of live action development at Lucasfilm. But before we get to that stuff, let's talk The Mandalorian. And Mandalorian's in full swing here, obviously. It's been doing well. 4 episodes in. Number 5 happens tonight when this comes out. You check out the Mandalorian Club, our live reviews that happen every Friday night. Nice little plug there. But this is a cool comment from Jon Favreau, and he was caught up in a review from The Hollywood Reporter. He kind of did a little sit down, and he had the following to say about The Mandalorian after being asked a question. He said, "We have a good 25-year patch of road in the Star Wars canon that nobody is exploring right now, and it's the most interesting time for me as a storyteller to explore the time after the fall of the Empire and before the resurgence of the darker forces." This could just be a cool comment from him talking in general. But there's also some things that can kind of be picked apart here for a little bit. Like I put here in the notes a little bit, a couple questions that we can talk about, touch on as we go through. Is this obvious and expected, or are these comments more telling than first glance? Will the series feature a time jump at any point during that 25 years he mentions? And does this mean that they don't have an exact number of seasons planned, or are they just seeing where the story goes? Brian, your initial thoughts as you kind of read this comments, because it is pretty interesting. He mentioned that 25 years there. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
That's a lot of time and a lot of space to tell stories. And it's kind of, genius in a way to leave that gap, because they are still going to be able to connect to that like homey heart feeling that we all get from Skywalker saga, while now starting a whole new thing. So maybe that whole new thing doesn't become as popular as they want. They can go back into that 25-year period, just kind of like they can pull what they want. It does kind of limit you a little bit force-wise. Because Luke and Leia, I guess, are really the only ones in that 25-year period
that we know about. Other than Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. But yeah, it leaves that like that home feeling, almost kind of like that attachment, that just in case, kind of like originally when we had that little bit of gap between 3 and 4. Stick in Rogue One, stick in Solo. Like, I mean, it was enough of a gap to tell some stories while we're in between stuff. So, I mean, I think it's genius. I'm not surprised that they are going to use that. That's a long period of time. I mean, we see it a lot with the books. The books are telling a lot of stories in that period.
They're taking a lot of time, and I think that when I read these comments, and like I had mentioned, they could just be like comments that came to his mind, or the kind of approach that they had to, like, we have 25 years to tell a story, but we're going to kind of go within close to the Return of the Jedi. Yeah. There's also a part of me that's like, okay, he may have mentioned 25 years for a reason, because maybe they have a plan to do some kind of time jump at some point.
I'm sure they do.
It's
for
very
DeLorean?
Yeah, it's very possible that after, let's just theorize, after season 2, he jumps 7 years later. Right? Season 2 ends on this
pretty big jump.
Season 2 ends on this cliffhanger. Okay?
I can see a year.
Mandalorian's up in this he's kind of settled, if you will, somewhere. We don't know where he kind of has a resolve. 7 years later, we jump back in with this guy. Because remember, at that point, who knows if he's actually taken his helmet off or not? And you don't have to deal with age with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the most brilliantly lucky things that they kind of got away with.
If he does, in fact, keep the helmet on.
If he never shows his face, which, to be honest, I won't be upset if I
don't want him to show his face. I want him to keep the helmet on.
Yeah. I would not be upset if I never see his face, because
you don't need to.
I'm seeing his acting through everything else, which is kind of cool and unique.
It sucks for Pedro Pascal, but at the same point,
he gives
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares either. But it does suck that his face isn't physically shown. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're getting this much praise and buzz for a character that you're essentially being hidden, every part of your body, literally gloves, long sleeve, like there's not a piece of skin that shows for him. Why not stick with it?
He loves it too.
Oh, 100%. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, he's loving it. I mean, we saw how he was before it even dropped. How he was always had a grin and smiling when he was talking, and like that's only going to get bigger when the show has gotten bigger. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of hope we do this.
Do you think that this could possibly mean that they're not really looking at an end as far as seasons, or
I don't think they have a season. I literally think
they're just seeing how far it goes.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think I've always felt that way. I don't think. I mean, Obi-Wan you've got a time limit. Like, there's only so much you can drag that on.
Well, he has about 15 years.
Yeah.
Technically, he has about 15 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, whether or not that's... We all know as Star Wars fans, more than likely that's not the actual case. 15 years, it's more like maybe like a 5-year gap you can really tell with him. It's not a 25-year gap, though.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being like tell the story after he first arrives and drops off Luke, then maybe like a halfway point, and then like up into the end. Because I honestly don't see that show, not because it's not going to succeed at all. I have that one. I feel has a more like about 3 seasons.
1 season. I've been saying it from the very beginning.
There's no way.
1 season. It's gonna be one last hoorah. No. Yep. I think the end of the series season is gonna end with old Ben, not Obi-Wan. Old Ben.
No.
Yep.
There's no way.
Let's make a bet. I don't know what the bet is, but we're making a bet.
All right, add it up to the bet wall.
Yeah, seriously need a board for this one.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, like I mentioned, make sure you guys check out the Mandalorian Club, our all Mandalorian review show that we do here on Friday nights after the episode. I know that it airs on 7 a.m. on Fridays, but because of work, we're hardworking gentlemen. We can't meet until later in the day, and that's when we go live. We go live on our YouTube channel. So you guys make sure you guys stay up to date on that. But for now, that is our Mandalorian talk. We're gonna go move right on to the Rise of Skywalker. Because we have a lot to talk about. There's some really, really cool stuff,
and we are only 15 days away.
We are almost 2 weeks out tomorrow. So or today, by the time this comes out, as I keep saying. But yeah, so we're gonna start with some comments from JJ, and he was sitting down recently And they got a cool little quote from him about the Force and in The Rise of Skywalker specifically. And before I get to my questions about these comments, this is what he said. And this is kind of bunched together 2 different comments here. And he said, "It was really important that we just not redo the things you've seen, but add new elements, which we knew will infuriate some people and thrill others. Among those things are not just new ways of doing sort of traditional must-have sequences, whether it's chases or lightsaber battles or what have you, excuse me. We wanted to make sure that this picture also showed aspects of the Force in ways that go beyond what you've seen before." JJ's great at the mystery box, obviously. Okay, now keeps a lot of things secret, close to the vest. He also plays coy with a lot of things, kind of leads people down certain paths. This could obviously be one of those things. If there's one person that's going to be doing that, it's JJ.
I don't think so.
But this also is backed up by every single Star Wars movie that's had the Force that's ever come out. Because every time we've seen a Star Wars movie, we have learned something new about the Force.
Yeah.
Every single time the Force is expanded, and The Last Jedi did it to an extent that we didn't think could go farther, but there's no doubt in my mind that they have figured out a way. And like I mentioned in here, we're gonna theorize as what kind of thing that is. But I have a feeling that him and Chris Terrio sat down and they're like, and maybe even talked to George Lucas, who we're going to talk about that later. They found a way to be like, this is the next evolution, of course. Thoughts?
I said it before we started. I love the fact that he says they're going to do stuff that's going to infuriate people, because that's the point. Like, grow
Push the boundaries.
Like, I mean,
especially being the last one.
How boring is it going to be if, like, these are your limits? You can never cross these. Eventually, you're gonna get bored of it. So, screw it. Like, push it every once in a while. Don't go so dramatic that it's, like, ridiculous. But, like, I mean, screw it. Like, I've been saying the whole entire time, I think that they're somehow gonna come back in almost human form.
That's what I was gonna go to. The thing what I was gonna theorize being the Force power is that Luke's going to find a way to physically bring himself back.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know what? If that's the case, sweet. I mean, as long as not everyone in everything moving forward happens, keep it like the super strong people have figured out how to do it. Mm-hmm. Palpatine, Luke, Yoda, like those types. Don't have Broom Boy dying and coming back to life just because. But I mean, like, that type of stuff, like, I'm down. Like, why not?
No, I agree with you. I think that as long as it's told in a believable way and quote unquote the right way, I don't care what you do. Like, you can do the most ridiculous Force thing that's ever been seen, but if it makes sense within the story and it makes sense with things that have happened in the past, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So if it's Luke coming back from the Force Ghost realm, if you will, if it's something that Kylo Ren's able to do, if it's something that Palpatine's able to do, Rey is able to do, whatever, if it's told the right way, I don't care what you do with it. As long as it fits what's being told.
Yeah, and as long as it's not like a wonky, like, we just did this so that way this character can come back. Like,
yeah, it can't be the convenient factor.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, but I mean, it kind of, if that's the case, like, it kind of does play a little bit of a cool element into things, because, like, that's true. Who's not to say that maybe, like, someone in, like, 4,000 years ago in the Knights of the Old Republic era did it. Like, give me Sith that were able to do that or something, like, and it just maybe got lost in the thousands of years. I mean, Palpatine's story rings true of when he was talking to Anakin, like, hours of saving people from death. Maybe he was wrong about that. Maybe it was bringing back from the dead, like something. I don't know. I'm just throwing crap out there, but, like, good. I'm glad they're taking chances, because people get pissed off about. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, keep it the same way, but give me new stuff, and then get new stuff and go, no, it's not like the old Star Wars. You're one or the other. And it needs to be, give me new stuff while keeping that traditional hunk of Star Wars that we know.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's something that a lot of people, and this quote is very fresh, so maybe a lot of people haven't dove into it like we are, but something that we can't forget about is the fact that the single oldest Jedi texts were in the hands of Luke Skywalker, and they are now in the hands of Rey.
Yeah.
What do those have?
She literally put them in the drawer of the Millennium Falcon.
So what kind of contents do they have? What kind of teachings, abilities, whatever, stories do they have? And maybe we talk about this a little bit in our next topic as well. But
yeah, you segued yourself.
Yeah, because it kind of works perfectly that way. But it's interesting because Rian Johnson made a point to show us those books at the end of the last movie.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's something JJ is going to forget about. Because that's very important to the mythology of the Jedi.
Well, it was the whole Yoda scene.
It's essentially what Luke was going there for.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So it plays a huge part, and it's something that this quote or this comment from JJ is kind of circling around here. Is like, what kind of story points are they going to tell with those texts? Is it just Rey? Is it Leia? Is it Force Ghost Luke coming back to teach Rey with those texts? Are they just forgotten altogether? I mean, it's very, very interesting, and I'm very excited because we haven't seen anything from them, obviously, in trailers. They were heavily used in the trailers for The Last Jedi. They became a big part of the movie. So they're a bit of a mystery right now. And whether or not this actually comes true about new abilities and new things about the Force that are going to either piss people off or make people happy or whatever, I really do hope that it's based around those texts.
Yeah.
Because it's the best way to use it outside of it being Palpatine. And maybe Palpatine is the first Sith to come back as a Force ghost, or the first Sith to channel his energy in another body. I mean, I don't know, something like that. Could be very interesting, but I think it's definitely something worth talking about because some people, like JJ says, like, it's going to infuriate some people. Some people don't remember that every single movie we've seen for Star Wars and the Force, it's built upon what the previous movies have told.
Yeah.
Every single one, whether it was the originals, the prequels, and these new sequels. And, JJ also has a big task ahead of him because the biggest thing we've ever seen from Star Wars and the Force is Luke transporting himself across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Literally across the galaxy. That's some freaking power right there. So what does he have up his sleeve? I'm very interested to see what it is.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
I feel like that moment or moments is going to be like a mind-blowing thing of like, oh my god.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like I said, you segued yourself perfectly into
I did.
What we have next.
Yeah, so continuing on, I mentioned the Rise of Skywalker World Press Conference, which happened 2 days ago. The main cast got together up on stage, and they were in front of a bunch of outlets, and it was moderated by Ava DuVernay, the great filmmaker. And at this press conference afterwards, the outlets were able to kind of rummage around, see some costumes, talk to cast members and producers and stuff like that. And this was detailed on the description board of Leia's costume at the conference. And it said the following. This is the second part of the description. Leia is also training Rey in the way of the Force, for the galaxy still has need of a Jedi.
Bomb.
Yes, heavily bomb.
Yeah.
This is something that we've been expecting, obviously. After The Last Jedi, we know canon for a fact that Luke did train Leia in the ways of the Force in some capacity. We don't know if it was lightsaber training and all that jazz, but she has the ability, clearly, because she saved herself from dying, whether or not you believe in that scene. So she definitely has some teachings to tell.
I believe in that scene, but I don't believe in the fact that Admiral...
There's also another part of this that a lot of people don't know and are forgetting. From a certain point of view, the story with Yoda and Obi-Wan, Yoda clarifies that he never thought Luke was the chosen one. He thought Leia was the chosen one. He thought Leia was the more powerful one in the ways of the Force, that she was the more capable being, and that he wanted to train her, not Luke. He wanted to train her all along, not Luke. And Luke just happened to be the one that came in. That was the one to kind of save everything. And again, it kind of plays in that 25-year gap, too. We don't know what happened in that 25 years. But
Yoda and Obi-Wan are just chilling.
yeah, like...
chilling in the Force, talking, shooting the...
it's pretty interesting. But I wanted to ask, I mean... Is
sipping
this
tea like Baby Yoda?
I know, right? Is this gonna be a really impactful thing to the movie, or is it something that's maybe touched on in the very beginning and then kind of moved aside as the film goes on, or is it kind of play throughout the whole movie?
It's gonna have. I mean, you don't make that decision without it being important. Like,
but do you think that it'll play through the whole movie, or do you think it's going to be a major part in the beginning, and then that Rey's going to kind of move on and do her thing? Because we only have so much footage of Carrie Fisher, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I think that part is only going to be probably, like, let's say in the beginning. Impact is going to play throughout the whole entire movie. Like,
it's got to be that training montage, right, with the droid.
Yeah,
because that's
she's hugging her in the forest.
That's the only time we've seen her.
Yeah, I think that hug is like she's like, I've done all I can do.
Or maybe that's like the passing of the torch.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I'm gonna cry so
hard. But yeah, I mean, I don't think she's gonna like have a factor through the whole entire movie, but I think the impact of that is going to have a factor with Rey throughout the whole entire movie.
Is there any chance that we see Leia with a lightsaber?
They said that at one point that was the whole like plan. God, died. Can you imagine?
I wouldn't have wanted to see her with a lightsaber, like wielding a lightsaber.
I don't think she would have. I think she would have just held it and like.
Have we ever seen her light one up? We haven't ever seen her light one up, have we?
No, that's why we've never.
It still could happen.
No, that's true.
It's very possible.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just seeing Leia.
Because remember at this point, the last time we saw Rey and Leia, they were talking about Luke and how he was gone, but also in their hands was the shattered saber.
Yeah.
Maybe Leia's the one who put it back together, and she's like, "Look what I got," and she goes, like,
or I mean, she's like, I could see Rey like being like broken and stuff, and like doing the holding it and it going back together, and her being like, "You do it too." Maybe like she puts it back together and then it shatters into the turn.
Do you think this Leia training her has anything to do with maybe new ways of the Force coming from Leia? Or do you think it's going to come more so from Luke, Kylo, that kind of area?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Leia's going to teach her new, like...
See, I have a feeling that she may, because they could play into the fact that she was always supposed to be the chosen one.
Maybe. I mean, I don't see her, like, teaching her, like, freaking lightsaber skills and stuff.
No, I don't think that, but someone who's...
I could see her teaching her how to tap into the Force, like, how to do that better, because Luke kind of didn't really do too much with it. Like, he gave her, like, the 3 lessons, and that was it. And, I mean, one of them, she went straight to the dark side, and he was, like, done after that. And the other 2 were just kind of, like, minimal. So, like, I could see her, like, being, like, teaching her, like, that type of stuff. Because, I mean, then that kind of plays into the fact that she Force pulled herself to the ship. Like, she knows how to do, like, that stuff, apparently.
So
I think it's going to be, like, centering your mind.
So at the end of Return of the Jedi, at the very last moment, Luke is looking upon Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda as Force ghosts. Leia walks up. She has no idea they're there. She hasn't tapped into the Force yet. Is there a possibility? I don't know.
I like how I could hear your voice start to while you're saying it.
That this training sequence is taught by both Leia and Force ghosts, standing next to each other, and she can see him.
Probably.
Imagine that moment on screen. Dude. Like, who's to say that Star Wars, Lucasfilm, whoever's doing the marketing, isn't pulling an Avengers and they didn't erase a Force Ghost Luke out of the scenes? And he's standing right there with Leia.
The only thing that I hesitate with that is then that kind of like takes a little bit away from that like really touching scene at the end where they're saying goodbye, Luke and Leia.
Maybe Luke went away at that point.
They seemed like they knew that they were saying like goodbye, which, I mean, that scene breaks my heart. Shit. Except for the part where he goes, "You changed your hair." I love that part. But yeah, I don't know. I thought you were gonna throw out Obi-Wan is training her how to do
that. It would feel too off. It has to be Luke. She deliberately,
because then she'd be like, "Who's this guy?"
Well, she deliberately searched out Luke on Octo. Her real only training comes from Luke, and although Han is much more the father figure, he's, for lack of a better term, the master to her Padawan, and so they have a connection because of that. And she understands more now than she did when she was on Octo, so the relationship is much more stronger because of everything that has happened. And so I feel like putting Obi-Wan in there would be, although it'd be incredible, it would be very off. If it wasn't Luke, I could see Yoda. I could see a Yoda thing because it seems like Yoda kind of has a play into it as well, even though they never met before. We also have to remember that there's also a time jump. We don't know what's happened in this year. Who she's come into contact with. Has she been in contact with Luke the entire time?
I know this is like, now I'm starting to talk ridiculous, but like, I would love to have found out that like Obi-Wan was like Force Ghost training Leia, like, or something like that, or Yoda was talking to her. That'd be crazy.
I feel like it probably would have been Yoda. Probably more so Yoda because...
Stop shooting down Obi-Wan, God!
It's not that, it's...
I'm kidding.
It could have been Obi-Wan, but I also feel like it probably would have been Yoda and Luke.
Yeah.
But then again, like, going back to the original trilogy, Luke was trained by both Obi-Wan and Yoda. More so Yoda, obviously. But Obi-Wan was, again, kind of like this Rey situation, like Rey and Luke. Obi-Wan was essentially like a father figure for Luke.
Obi-Wan did do the ball thing with Luke, and now, maybe
I'm saying. And she, but she was on the ship at that time, right? It was just Han?
No, she wasn't.
It was just Han, correct?
Right. They had to rescue her from the prison.
We hadn't seen it ever again. But like the footage is shown from those
trailers. Oh my God! What if she goes on the Millennium Falcon Beast? Is like, this looks familiar.
Probably.
Like,
probably. Yeah, I can't wait to hear that sound again. That of the ball droid.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so cool. All right, let's move on to our next section of this World Press Conference, and this comes from Senior Vice President of Live Action and Development, Michelle Rejwan.
I love that she's getting.
Yeah, I mean, she's produced a lot of JJ's films, and she came back and she got the gig of live action and Vice President because of this movie, and she's one of the names rumored to be heading Lucasfilm in the future. So.
A three-headed dragon we're hoping for.
Yeah, totally. And this comes from Star Wars Newsnet, and they were there at the press conference, and they were live tweeting this, and this came from Michelle Rejwan as they sat down with her and Chris Terrio, and she said the following about just talking to George Lucas beforehand. She said the following: "We met with George early on and took in his ideas, and he has faith in Kathy and Lucasfilm to handle the property." I put it in the notes. News or noise? Do you believe it was a significant meeting or not? Does it really mean anything? There's a part of me that really does believe that they took into account what George is talking about.
Absolutely.
Because obviously he is the godfather of it all, and I think JJ has a lot of respect for him.
I think that's where this news that everyone's been like hyping. They went back to him to redo it, and they're like.
They consulted with him early on.
Yeah.
And we've seen, George on set of The Mandalorian. He was on set of Solo.
It's his baby.
I
feel like he still wants
it. And I think that not George, but JJ doesn't just have a lot of respect for him, but he wants to make sure that he's doing right by him.
Yeah.
And him and writer Chris Terrio and Kathleen Kennedy obviously were like, before we kind of get down to business here, let's talk to George. Touch on a few things with him.
At the very least, it's a respect thing.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a few small things and it had everything to do with the Force.
Yeah.
Because that's that's his realm.
He created it.
That's what he knows. He did everything in the Clone Wars. Filoni, everything with Rebels, learned from Lucas. And so if you're going to learn anything about the Force, you're going to ask George his thoughts. Whether or not they did it in the movie is another question. But it is cool that they consulted with him because they want to make sure that they are heading in the right direction, whether it be the Force or anything else in the movie.
Yeah. I like that they even just maybe picked his brain a little bit, just like, hey, come down. Because nowhere in that contract, $4 billion, does it say, like, hey, you're selling this to us, don't come back.
Yeah.
Don't come near it.
Totally.
Like, have the guy that created this whole entire thing, why not use him if you can?
Yeah.
Don't be an a-hole and be like, no, this is ours. Get away. We paid you your money. Why not? People are only going to be more happy to have him do stuff with it than they would like being stubborn of like, no, we don't want his input anymore. So why not? I mean, obviously Kathleen Kennedy has a huge amount of respect for him. Protege to him. So, I mean, with all the backlash that like The Last Jedi got, regardless if you agree or disagree with it, why not let the guy that made the whole thing give a little tidbit of, hey, you made this for X amount of years. What do you think about this one thing to close it out? Why not? Why freaking not? It makes no sense to not let him give his input now and then. Maybe they were just like, hey, we're filming this. Why don't you come, like, see what you think? It could have been maybe one scene for all we know. Like,
Totally.
So, I mean, I keep saying it, but just why not? I mean, have the guy in there. He knows about it more than anyone else does. I mean, it literally came from his brain. So I like that he was there. And I like that they seem open to it. Because I felt it was very...
They're civil now.
Yeah, it was very rocky and tumultuous in the beginning. And I think, in a way, Lucas was a little bitter how they treated him once they got it. And now I think people are starting to be like, again, like, let's say Disney maybe treated him a little crappy. And now people are kind of not like holding it against Disney, but like this guy, like the love is there for him. Why not? Like, and I think now it's the bridge is starting to be mended. And I think that truly has a lot to do with Filoni and Favreau, and Kathleen Kennedy, I'm sure. But I think those two really had a lot to do with it. I think Mandalorian had a lot to do with it too, and I think now it's starting to be like, hey, call up Lucas, see what he thinks about this, like that type of relationship, and that's what it needs to be.
They probably had him on speed dial. Probably were like, we have a question about this. Who's the person we can call? Let's call George.
Yeah, and that's what it needs to be. For until the day this man dies, he should be able to give his input on anything, even if he doesn't own it anymore. Because without him, you wouldn't have it.
And like I said, it's their choice whether or not they want to run with it. They don't have to. Because we know that some of George's ideas are absolutely out there,
and we may never know what he specifically.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
But it is nice that they are consulting with him and that they do have a friendly relationship enough to be able to be like, hey, we have a question about Rey and her powers, and where do you think this can kind of go to? Because we want to take it up a notch, and or where do you think Kylo should end up, or whatever. Maybe not to that kind of that big of a thing, but something along that lines where they can talk to him about it with Force abilities, and maybe it's about Force Ghosts or
I mean, we
Luke
know
or whatever.
We know his whole this trilogy was supposed to be heavily Metachlorian based with the Force and stuff. Where are we at right now?
Yeah.
Where the Force we have no idea what could come from it.
Totally.
All the guy that was going to do it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be really, really cool. All right, guys. Well, our last topic of today has to deal with co-writer Chris Terrio, who wrote The Rise of Skywalker with JJ, and the same meetup with Michelle Rejwan. He was teamed with her, and again, Star Wars Newsnet caught this quote from him. And he said the following when asked a specific question. He said, "This story is told to have a conclusion, but could continue if need be." I will say this before or after I wrote the notes, there was some stuff that came out with John Boyega, and he had basically said that they asked him and Oscar Isaac if they would continue their stories on Disney Plus. They both immediately said no, and John Boyega said, "You're not put." He said it jokingly, having fun, smiling like he usually does, but he says, "I'm not going on Disney Plus. I'm staying in the film world, but I'll only come back if Oscar and Daisy want to as well." And so, to me, that's like, okay, they're kind of done with it. That's how I feel anyway. And
who was the other actor recently that said like, "I ain't doing it"? Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, about Black Panther.
There are some actors that are movie.
Yeah, totally.
So, and
totally.
I mean, I could see this.
Yeah. So, combine Terrio's quote with John Boyega's quote. What is the reaction towards it ending, it continuing, future? Anything?
I'm not surprised that there isn't a wall at the end of this, like that the movie isn't
a clear cut finish.
Yeah, like there isn't a wall that and you can't get around it. It's a fork in the road, I feel like, where one's a dead end and the one's kind of like another path. I'm not surprised that they left this, just in case. You never know. But I truly do think it is made to be the last one.
I agree.
I mean, you never know what the future's going to take. But I mean, like, for them to just blanket put an end to it is financially and business-wise stupid for them. No,
I disagree.
No. I mean, if you're looking at it at a business point of view, like, say it dries up. Look at how, like, if we are 30 to 40 years from now, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go back to Skywalker Saga," you can't tell me that people aren't gonna.
Of course.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. But business-wise, in such X amount of years, decades, it's not going to make money for them, if need be. But I think the plan is, this is it. Because there's so much. You don't need to literally milk the teat of this like crazy. Like,
there's only so many Skywalkers that are involved in this.
Exactly. Kind of so, I mean, that's why I feel like it's made to be the end.
And nobody's having kids with Kylo, I'll tell you that much. Nobody wants those evil babies.
Yeah. So, I mean,
even though he's more than likely going to stupidly get redeemed. Anyway, that's I'm actually, there was a quote about this, and I'm saving it for the next episode because I want Jacob involved, because he's very heavily like pro he's redeemed.
So am I.
And well, I want 2 verse 1 because I want to shut you guys down. So, but yeah, I mean, look, is there always a possibility to tell stories for any movie that's ended? Yes, there's, outside of Rogue One, which every character died.
Yeah, which I still can't believe Disney let them do that.
Every character died.
Yeah.
And there was still a quote-unquote sequel. It's called A New Hope. But it's not really a sequel. It's, you know what I mean.
I mean,
you can do a story for any movie that follows what came beforehand.
Yeah.
And so unless it's some random person that lived a single life, had no kids, and died. Like, that's a rare chance, obviously. So,
I mean, regardless, you're not going to kill every single character in this movie.
And so
there's always going to be
even if it's just like a sequel to BB-8, it's still a sequel.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's a Skywalker Saga, I don't know. But my thing is, like, one, you hit it right on the head when you said just don't dry it up. Like, let it go. Like, there's only so many Skywalkers that can be. Right? Like, we had Luke, we had Anakin, we had Leia. We have Kylo, right?
And we have Rey.
And, well,
no, I'm kidding. You started to say it.
The conversation for another day. Whether or not she's Skywalker, we don't know. That's whatever. That's 4 Skywalkers.
For the record, I don't think she's
in a long generation of time. I mean, this franchise has 42 years in our lifetime, but in the Star Wars universe, it's for, let's say, 10, 15, 35, 38, about 60 years worth in the galaxy. Like, how many Skywalkers can be involved in something like this? And how many times is something like the Empire and the First Order going to come back?
Yeah.
Granted, they could tell a story of, like, let's say Kylo gets redeemed and they go 15 years down the road, he's 45 years old. They could easily tell a story where there's nothing to do with the Empire and Rebellion, but it's a Force journey, right? He's going up against some bad Force thing.
Hello, those, what's their name? And it starts with G. From all the Thrawn novels. Those things that the Chiss Ascendancy is afraid of.
Don't have my name on them. I mean, there's always
for the record, I fully think that they are going to go into that at some point.
So these comments, like, it's interesting. Terrio is probably just being a writer who's saying, like, yeah, I can continue on. But let's also remember that this is his only Star Wars movie that he's ever written. He doesn't know everything to know about the movies. He's also not a producer in Lucasfilm or whatever. And so I want Lucasfilm, as much as I love the Skywalker saga, the episodes, the crawls, everything, I want them to move on.
Yeah.
Because the galaxy is huge.
It's a galaxy.
Everything outside of the Skywalker saga, everything that happens, like books, video games, comics, there's something new introduced every single time. Like, look at Jedi Fallen Order. How many new planets were introduced in that game? How many new creatures and organizations and all that type of stuff were introduced in that single game? Same with the books. Like, they do it all the time.
The books is incredible.
I mean, it's just
I know I'm a Thrawn fanatic, but I am so interested in the, like, Chiss Ascendancy type stuff. Like, they seem like a big deal, and I would love to know more about it. I mean, Thrawn's, that whole thing is going to get 6 books worth. We already have 3. We're about to get another trilogy. So clearly, it's a big enough deal in Star Wars to do that. Again, it tie into that time period of the Skywalker saga, but you don't have to tie it back to the Skywalker.
It's just in the time period.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, there's whether or not it's during that time period, because again, that's 60 years. You can also go like the Old Republic stuff of thousands of years back. Also go.
Not you could. They need to.
I know that. I know you need to. That should be the next thing they do. I'm just saying, you can go hundreds of years, thousands of years. You can go in the future. You can do whatever you want.
On the Keanu Reeves Revan train?
No. I want someone younger. I want someone. Honestly, if he wasn't Kylo, I would have chosen Adam Driver. He would be the perfect Revan because he's unhinged, and Revan's unhinged. So, and Revan's probably a top 5, maybe top 3 Star Wars character for me. So, that's definitely a casting for another day.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see that soon though.
Darth Maul.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool castings you can do, the Dark Side and the Old Republic.
John Hamm.
He has to be disfigured, though. You need someone who could fit that disfigured.
Exactly. Can you imagine John Hamm missing this part now?
Maybe. I don't know about that one. We'll see, though. Hugh Jackman.
No.
All right. Well, any last thoughts on the conclusion of the Skywalker saga? I'm sure we'll get into it eventually, because like I said, Jacob's very, very heavily involved in the fact that he happened down the road.
I'm so torn. The fact that it's 2 weeks away, I'm like, give it to me now. Yeah. And then the other part of me is like, no, I don't want it to end. Draw it out a little bit longer. But
totally.
Screw it. These 2 weeks need to fly by. And I'm going to Hawaii, so this needs to fly by. I need to go.
God. Go enjoy yourself in Hawaii.
I need to see this movie.
You're gonna be back, and we're going to opening night, the earliest showing possible outside of the East Coast, because they get to see it 3 hours earlier. Sucks, but it is what it is. So, all right, guys. Well, there it is. Our Padawan podcast for this week. Again, I mean, a lot of cool topics to talk about here for Apocaflix and the Padawan. Make sure you guys let us know in the comments what you think of all this stuff. Run through the show. Leave some comments down below. We'd love to hear from you guys on what Force ability you think could be shown. What does JJ mean about new stuff that's going to be revealed? What do you think about Leia training Rey? Does it have a connection to stuff down the line? Is Luke going to come back? What about Mandalorian and time jumps and 25-year gaps and stuff like that? And of course, do you think that there will be an episode 10? That's the big question that we'll be asking after we see The Rise of Skywalker. We shall see. Some of us believe it should happen. Some of us believe it shouldn't happen. And I'm sure we'll be talking quite a bit. So, again, Brian, thank you for joining me on the Padawan today, man.
As always.
Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, all on podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, Anchor, which is where we're based out of, and all social media as well, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We do a lot of stuff up on there, and that'd be cool if you guys can follow us, subscribe to us everywhere. Really, really appreciate it. Like, share, all that good stuff, because it shoots us up the charts. And, of course, so for Brian Admiralcino, Mr. Grand Admiralcino himself, I am Jake Berlin, a.k.a. Qui-Gonn Jake, excuse me. We'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.
Hey everyone, Jacob Bartley here. Thanks for So please subscribe to Apocaflix Movies and let us know your thoughts in the comments section. We always love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.